And hello, everybody, and welcome to Sportcat's Daily Gazette. I hope you can hear me okay. I hope the audio is good. Let's see who we got in the chat here. Hello, Wendell. How are you? Good to see you. Soul, always a pleasure to have you here. Welcome, welcome, welcome. All right, well, everybody, you know the drill. This is the Daily Gazette, where we run down all things, well, basically that's going on in the world, and we catch up with some things that other people don't tell you. And we talk about, unlike other podcasts, why you're still here. Some podcast preppers and shows concentrate on why we're going to die today. I got a little different approach to it, so I think we're going to live to see another day. I think the adults are always in charge, so. Yes, I am in the attic, Wendell. I will be here for a while, so you're going to have to learn to put up with the different look and sound. I am coming to you live from my mom's attic in a remote location hidden deep in the hills of East Tennessee. So, yes, I am. Hey, Chris, welcome. Glad you're here. You almost missed me screw up the opening. All right, so welcome everybody in the chat. Once again, this is the Daily Gazette, where I go over things that are either breaking in the news or things that are current, and we go over lots of other topics: weather, sports, entertainment, trending events, stuff like that. We're going to start off with a little bit of breaking news. Let me move this over here so it doesn't get in the way. So as we're coming to press, as we're coming online, is that the correct word? I don't know. As the show was starting, we got some breaking news out of Fairfax County, Virginia, and I didn't really get a whole lot of update on this. Hey, Denise, welcome to the show. Well, sometimes, Wendell, it is good to have the adults in charge. Denise, I'm glad you're here. Welcome. So we have some breaking news out of Fairfax County, Virginia. I just pulled this up real quick. Like, this is the Inside Nova, Northern Virginia's leading news source. And Fairfax County Police Department were dispatched to the CIA Langley headquarters. No, I'm not. Sorry, it's not Langley. It's the CIA headquarters. Or is it in Langley? Anyway, it's on Dolly Madison Boulevard on Route 123. They were dispatched to shots fired at CIA headquarters. Easy for me to say. In McLean, Virginia. They said there was a possibly armed suspect on campus. Fairfax County Police responded just shortly before 10 a.m. and the police to assist the CIA police. Didn't know there was such thing as CIA police. They described a man with a gun to his head on a bench outside the facility's security gate, according to website scanners. We can listen online, but I'm not going to get that far into this headline. CIA police advised that the man had fired several rounds in the air before the Fairfax County police officers arrived. And so they have Dolly Madison Boulevard, 123 completely shut down, Georgetown Pike and Seville Lane, and they're calling it a barricaded incident, and they're calling in their Special Operations Division, and they will also have their Special Operations Division for Fire EMS. So they are no doubt trying to talk this person down. Can't help but wonder, if we remember yesterday, the breaking news was going to be they were releasing the RFK, is it JFK? JFK paperwork. They released 88,000 documents, I believe, yesterday, or 88,000 pages of documents. And I'll be honest, I kind of skimmed through them. It was a little before my time, so I mean, I've seen the movie, I've heard the history. I went and watched a lot of the conspiracy theorist websites, YouTube channels last night to see, and basically they said it was a bunch of nothing. So I haven't researched it yet. I don't know that I will, but from what I understand from people who are, that's their thing, it was a whole bunch of nothing. So, but I will check into it and report back. But so far from everybody, I've heard that nothing to see here is, typical government. So apparently they still haven't released all of the documents. There's still stuff hidden. And FEMA is letting us down today. I don't know if it has anything to do with what's going on in McLean, but at any rate, I think their headquarters is also out that way. I'm not sure. So we'll just jump right into doing our little thing here. And then we'll have some trending news later. So I want to thank everybody at Radio X Australia and to the Yerg's Radio Network. We're live on Yerg's Radio and Rainbow Radio. Thank you, Ross. And we're replayed on Pine Island Radio every night. And so we appreciate them. So yes. We assume that there would be some redacted stuff, but apparently it's pretty much just a bunch of nothing. Yeah. And I don't think there were any photographs. And I think that was one of the things that they really wanted. I mean, I don't think they wanted the graphic photographs, but I think they wanted more pictures, like from the different angles and from different interviews and stuff like that. And I think there was no audio, video, or photo released. So kind of a bunch of nothing. So 9 a.m. in pool camera time at the White House. The president has received his daily briefing at 11 a.m. And today at 1300 Eastern time, there'll be a press briefing by the White House press secretary. And I'm going to comment on that in a few minutes as well. So there's nothing on the president's official calendar or any official events. And I do want to note yesterday, the executive orders that was closed to the press. And so we weren't really made privy to what the executive orders were. And I'm finding some difficulty in finding things on .gov websites, which is very annoying. Okay, Ross says L'Enfant Plaza is home of FEMA. I thought it was also over in Fairfax. That may be the National Firefighter Association, or no, not Academy. That's in Emmitsburg. It may be the firefighter thing. But yeah, so I'm finding difficulty getting information from .gov websites for official transcripts, official things. And it's not anything new under this president as opposed to the last president. You couldn't get anything out of the previous administration either, which was a bunch of horse hockey. Only a few people get to know the goods. So we know that yesterday there was where did it go? There was a there was a phone call between President Putin and President Trump, and they were to release the entire transcript. Well, yesterday afternoon at about 13:26, they sent out an email to the media that read, "Today, President Trump and President Putin spoke about the need for peace and a ceasefire in the Ukraine war. Both leaders agreed this conflict needs to end with a lasting peace. They also stressed the need for improved bilateral relations between the United States and Russia. The blood and treasure that both Ukraine and Russia have been spending in this war will be better spent on the needs of their people. This conflict should have never started and should have ended long ago with sincere and good faith peace efforts. The leaders agreed that the movement to peace will begin with an energy infrastructure ceasefire, as well as technical negotiations on implementation of a maritime ceasefire in the Black Sea. Full ceasefire and permanent peace. These negotiations will begin immediately in the Middle East. The leaders spoke broadly about the Middle East as a region of potential cooperation to prevent future conflicts. They further discussed the need to stop proliferation of strategic weapons and will engage with others to ensure the broadest possible application. The two leaders shared their view that Iran should never be in a position to destroy Israel. The two leaders agreed that a future with improved bilateral relationships between the United States and Russia has a huge upside. This includes enormous economic deals, geopolitical stability when peace has been achieved. So I say President Poop. So this is right off of the White House, but there's no, when you go to look for transcripts or anything, there's nothing there. But apparently the media got it, which annoys me. That annoys me. They should make it, it should be on a .gov. And here's something else that annoyed me just as much. So we go over to the other side of the phone conversation. This is from Vladimir Putin. And we get a much longer printout. This about the same substance. It goes into a little bit more on specifics on obtaining peace and achieving the total goal. And there are some ideas in here. It doesn't mention that they will be meeting in Saudi Arabia, I think Sunday. It's coming up soon. They did discuss the need for a ceasefire. And this has the bullet points, obviously, from the Russian president's point of view. And there is some good humanitarian things in there. They put forth proposals on energy infrastructure, which is funny because last night they both bombed each other's energy and infrastructure. So yeah, way to go, peace. Yeah, both Ukraine and Russia. And they knew this apparent of the conversation. And there's supposed to be a printout of the conversation from Zelensky today that President Trump is having with him. Should be right about now. So they addressed some other international issues about the Red Sea, the Middle East, ongoing tensions. There really is more from the Russian leader than there is our leadership. And this annoyed me. Even Sports Illustrated had a copy of the complete transcript, but you can't get it online because they expressed support for an idea to hold hockey matches in both the United States and Russia between Russia and American players from the NHL and the KHL. Why not put the whole damn thing out there, for Christ's sake? So, like Carlin said, it's a big club and we ain't in it. No, we're not one of the elites. But it's really annoying that you get more from Putin than you do from Trump. They could have at least included the sports bit in the email that they put out to the general public. But no, Sports Illustrated gets the entire damn transcript. Ross, get me my press credentials so I can end this shenanigans. So I can file for official transcripts. That's so annoying. All right. So since we don't get the FEMA update, we'll just do we'll start with the National Weather Service for the U.S. First and foremost, not to say anything against our Australian fans. We are going to we have some news for them and we will have some updates on their weather. So, the front we talked about from Canada is pushing down and across the country. It's not making it quite as far south as they thought. It's going to be cold in the south, but not Arctic cold. I did not check his tweets or his Truth Social, but they didn't release anything more from what I skimmed through, Wendell. So we're going to still have snow and mixed precipitation over in Washington and Oregon from that front, still off the shore of the Pacific side of the country, and snow pushing across into Wyoming and Colorado. I understood last night from my friend in, I think it's Grand Rapids in Colorado, just outside of Denver. It was snowing, so they did get snow. So I called that. I was on the 50% correct side. Mixed precipitation going from Wisconsin down to pretty much the tip of Oklahoma, through the far northern part of Oklahoma, and then rain with some severe stuff in Illinois and Indiana and some possible flooding. And then the rain will continue eastward, covering pretty much West Virginia, all of Tennessee, where we're going to get some thunderstorms later today. In Alabama, you're in the bullseye again, as well as Georgia. I don't think it's going to be as severe as it was last week, but we're going to keep an eye on this over here on the Pacific. That's going to be the next thing. Tomorrow, that snow is going to continue back across the the Northwest from North Dakota, Washington to North Dakota, and then from I didn't see. Wow. Maybe the cold front will get as far down as us. There's mixed precipitation being called for tomorrow from the top of the Appalachian Mountains in Georgia all the way up into the Great White North, extending over to Maine, Vermont, and New Hampshire. And most of Northern Virginia will see a mixed bag of precipitation, along with Maryland, Delaware, and the coastline of Virginia, the Carolinas, and Georgia and Florida will just get rain. Rain will extend through the Panhandle down to about where Jurg's radio is in Tampa. Yes, yes. Everybody, please come over to the Paranormal Guys on YouTube. That's Guys with a Z, and like, follow, and subscribe. And I'll get 50% of the weather right 50% of the time, and maybe 50% of the news right 50% of the time. So, but I just shocked myself looking at this. I did not see this in Tennessee for tomorrow. I'm going to have to check into that. I like the idea of snow. All right. So 3-day snow's out of here in the South. It's going to retreat back up the East Coast all the way up to New Hampshire, New York, Maine, that area. Of course, Vermont is going to get it, and the tips of Wisconsin and Michigan will get it with some with some just rain precipitation across the Ohio Valley and the Mid-Atlantic region. And of course, the West in the Rockies are still going to get a little bit of snow, and out on the Pacific Northwest, they're going to get some snow, especially in the higher elevations. So that will be for Friday. So for Thursday, keep your eye out. We'll see if I get it right, or if they get there's snow in Tennessee. I didn't know that. So, all right. I like snow better than like mixed precipitation. So we'll go with it that way. All right. Our first wind map of the day. Let me refresh that. Yes. And we see that vortex really hasn't moved much. It's kind of extended down some in the Mid-Atlantic region, but it is still pulling off of the Rockies, tapping all the way down into the Gulf of Mexico, and the Gulf of America. But in Mexico, the winds are pulling out of the Gulf of America up towards Mid-Atlantic, the Ohio Valley region. And so that little cyclonic vortex is still pretty strong right there. They're saying the maximum speed winds right now are almost 40 miles an hour. And let's see, I would guess it's probably somewhere right around in there, wherever there is. Where is there? That's as zoomed in as I get. Kansas. All right. So it looks like most of the windiest conditions are in Kansas. Unfortunately, down here in Oklahoma City, it doesn't look good either for them, because we know they are experiencing the fires right now, and this is not what they need. So Wendell asks if I know where the Pacific and the Atlantic Oceans get their name. Is this a trick, Wendell? No, I don't, right off the top of my head. And go away, Twitch. We don't like you. I'm not removing a space. I would remove you if I could. You're non-existent to me. No, Wendell, I do not. So you stumped me for my trivia for the day. And that doesn't surprise me, because I'm not a trivia person. Unless it's about something like comic books, some geek thing, maybe. So shockingly enough, the winds where they're the strongest is where most of the power outages are. Nebraska has 61,000 people without power. Iowa has 16,000, whereas Missouri has 12,000. And let's say Kansas has 31,000. Drop down into Texas, where it's pulling off the trough off of Mexico and out of the Gulf of America. And we have 27,514 people without power in the great state of Texas. Wendell says the Pacific gets its name from Magellan, And the Atlantic got its name from the Greek Atlas. Okay. All right. There's your daily trivia. Who knew? Wendell knew. Wendell, go take care of this guy on Twitch. He's annoying me. All right. So we'll jump next to the airflow. And remember how yesterday Oklahoma was in the crosshairs with all that dirty, nasty air? Man, Oklahoma City, you can't buy a break. This is because of the storm, the dust, the wind, and then the fires. It's a combination. And when they all combine, remember we had the mud snow that the conspiracy theorists said that was the sprays from the jets or whatever the hell they think, that was going to be that's what that was. Well, no, you're going to have more mud rain coming across with this, and it's probably only really going to affect south of the Appalachia if I got my guess right on that one. I don't think it'll be as far up the mid-Atlantic. It might be, but I don't think so, or into the Ohio Valley. I don't think it'll go up that far. But Georgia, your air quality sucks right now. Pretty much the entire state of Georgia. Alabama, you're about 60-40. And, of course, over the Washington, D.C. region, yeah, their air quality sucks too. But the worst air right now is in Oklahoma City and down along the Mexican border in, what is that, Big Bend. And that's, once again, that's because of the fires and the smoke. So, yeah. Wendell says his head is full of useless things. I wouldn't say that, Wendell. So, but yes, the most unhealthy air is down in Big Bend and in Oklahoma City. And that snow is pretty much coming up from the tip of Texas down there in Monterey, almost completely covering Texas, all the way up to Oklahoma, where it gets to its worst. It extends out to Kansas City, and that's where we see that trough of wind was earlier, and it's just stirring all that smoke up, and they've had several dust storms. So it's been nasty out there, but don't worry, it's coming soon to a town near you. All right, so this will be the fire map, and as we can see, Oklahoma is still... There is so many fires in Oklahoma right now, and that's right at the center of that vortex we looked at. So all those winds are being stirred up. Chris says all the bad weather luck has moved from Oklahoma from the Australian coast. That's pretty accurate, even though they're not out of the guns off the Australian coast with the flooding. It's pretty bad there. And then we have the fires down in Texas. I don't see down in Big Bend a large fire, so they must have it more under control. But yeah, that and the dust storms coming out of Mexico and Texas. So yeah. All right. We see, I don't see any new, well, let's see. There are a couple new fires in, where is this? This is in Missouri, and we have some fire warnings up along Fire Weather Watch, which today is high because of the wind conditions up in the tip of Kentucky, a quarter of Kentucky, pretty much all of West Virginia, part of Ohio. I'm surprised that hasn't reached down here as far south as East Tennessee and the Appalachia, and then up in the New York region. Interestingly enough, yesterday, if you had wanted to go to or from Key West by car on the 100-mile-an-hour bridge, you would not have been able to because of out-of-control fires that shut down the highway, and you could not get in or out of the Keys by vehicle over the bridges because the fire was so large it was crossing over the highway, and it's much larger than they're showing here on the map. And then the smoke was wrapping down, making near zero visibility on the bridge. And they were trying to get fire departments from as far west as Key West to come up and help, but they couldn't really provide a whole lot of help with the traffic conditions. There was no major motor vehicle accidents that I saw come out of this, but the Key West, getting in and out of there yesterday, it was shut down. And as far as I know, it is still shut down as of today. I have not checked just before coming on air, but yesterday, Key West, you could not get in or out of it, and the fires will be continuing in the tip of Miami region down there throughout the day. They have not got them under control. And one question I always get, since I'm a firefighter, is there's so much water right there. Why can't they just pick it up and drop it on that? You can't put salt water on green vegetation. It will kill it. So, yeah. And Chris said he wouldn't rule out the dinosaur being related to those fires. That's correct. Our longtime fans will remember that. That was that our New Year's Eve show or a Christmas Eve? I can't remember, where we were watching just the tip down here. I should bring that camera up. Just the tip down here in Key West at the memorial at the tip of Key West, the furthermost south position of the United States. It was during a hurricane, and up waddles a plastic dinosaur. It was the funniest thing. So I do have a TikTok about it. If you check out my TikTok, it was quite funny. All right. So those are the newest fires in the South, and those were pretty horrible. Ross, up by you, there's quite a few wildfires, and Florida's got some of them dotted throughout. Lower Alabama, lower Georgia, you have some pretty significant fires. And of course, they're worried about these up in West Virginia. I'm sure Cheyenne's been busy on the 911 phones. So Chris over in Illinois. So I'm sorry, this is in Illinois. You have one significant fire up by the Green River. Not sure where that is. And let's see, Denise over by you. Where are you? You're over here. I don't see any significant fires in your area, Denise. So you're good. Brenda down in Texas, where you live, it's meh, okay, but the air quality sucks. And for our West Coast listeners, there's still some small fires. Small is a relative term as compared to what they had in the lower California region, Southern California. And I don't know. No, this map doesn't include anything but the United States. So, all right. Yeah, well, it's from the U.S. Wildlife or U.S. Forestry. Go figure. So I don't have data on the wildfires in Australia at the moment. I can pull it up though. All right. So we look here. This is the radar for the United States. Little blue dots are the earthquakes. I guess I should take those off because the only significant earthquake over the past 24 hours was up in Alaska. And we know that they're always rocking and rolling up there. So we see there's gale warnings off the Pacific coast, flood warnings inland, and then the higher elevations, they have winter weather advisories on the Pacific Northwest. Down in Southern California, going to be dry. And we talked about how it's going to snow in the higher elevations of the Rockies, Salt Lake City, and we get into the high wind watch around Denver, and that pretty much extends mostly across the country, almost to the East Coast. It stops somewhere just the other side of West Virginia, about mid-Virginia, drops all the way down as far as south as Mississippi in Texas, and part of Alabama is under a freeze warning. Wendell, what are you doing over there? You got a freeze warning for tonight. In a lot of these areas, red flag regions in the Appalachians, along the Smoky Mountains, all of West Virginia. And of course, we know that Arkansas, all the way back over Oklahoma, Texas, that's everything. You've got everything there from a high wind to a red flag. There's no one good color for that. It's a mixed bag of everything right in the center of the Midwest right there. And that's where those winds are going to be the worst there in Oklahoma today, stirring up those fires. And that mud rain will probably continue and come down with the dust storms across Arkansas, Memphis, Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, and Atlanta, or Georgia, and outward for later this week. That's just a forecast. The other front that did so much damage over the weekend is off the coast, and it's now bothering Bermuda. So it's left us alone. And by the way, this little circulation here, National Hurricane Weather Center backed up their 10%, and it's not even on their radar now. We'll pull that up after a while. Let's go down to Australia and see what it's like down there for our friends down under on Radio X. We appreciate you listening. We do have an update on Cyclone Jude. Yeah, it looks like pretty much across Australia, it's going to be spotty showers moving off the coastline. Gold Coast down in Brisbane, a little bit of spotty showers. But it looks like kind of spotty showers all the way across. Wendell says, I'm just too cool. Well, for anybody in the chat that doesn't know, if you haven't been windled, you need to come to a Bigfoot convention and get windled. But the radar in Australia doesn't look remarkably changed since yesterday. Like I said, spotty showers along the coastline in the northeast and up along the northern tip. Those rain showers are probably going to move inshore and create some spotty showers all the way across. With down here in the Australian Bight, there's going to be some heavier rains, some thunderstorms, but I believe they're going to be moving offshore. We'll take a look at the wind map here in a few minutes to verify that. So, and I'm trying to learn my geography better, so you have to bear with me. I'm learning, so I is learning. All right, so I brought this one up since we didn't really have anything from FEMA. I would go with our weather warning page, and we see pretty much the activity where it's going to be today. Actually, the NOAA is calling for the severe stuff to be kind of around where you are, Chris. So keep an eye on that for thunderstorms. The winds are going to be highest. This can't be updated, right? Because the highest winds were in Oklahoma earlier. And the tornadic winds are only expected for up in that area of Illinois, Indiana. So keep your eyes open. Be weather aware, Chris. And I saw somewhere somebody had a tornado advisory come out, but I think, or tornado warning come out, but I thought that they pulled it up. Illinois, you've got a severe thunderstorm warning. Andy is testing again in Maryland. I don't know why. Rip currents down off of Florida. The wind advisories in Texas. Blowing dust advisory in Texas. And if we get time today, remind me, there was a serious accident during a dust storm involving an ambulance. So yeah. Chris says, tornadic activity possible this afternoon and snow tonight. Maybe you'll get some of that thundered snow. And then... All right, so we're looking at the higher elevations here in Iowa, Nebraska for some blizzard conditions. All right, blizzard conditions for snows at the 3-inch, winds as high as 55 miles an hour. Strong winds and the weight of snow on the tree limbs may impact power lines and could cause power outages. That is for the upper elevations in the northwest corner of Iowa and the northeast section of Nebraska in the higher elevations. And there is a tornado watch in Bond right now. Currently, Bond, Illinois, there is a tornado on the ground. The National Weather Service has issued a tornado watch. I'm sorry, this is a watch. I said warning, in effect until 9 p.m. So if you're in the following areas in Illinois, in 5 counties: South Central Illinois, South Bend, Clinton, Fayette, Marion, Montgomery. It includes the city of Centralia, Litchfield, Salem, and Vandalia. So tornado watch for those areas. There's also tornado watches in Indiana. And there's going to be several tornado watches across Indiana and Illinois today. So with wind, once again, we talk about in Arkansas and Oklahoma. Special weather statement in New York. I'm betting it's going to get cold again. Humidity will drop to 15 with winds gusting. So this is a fire warning for, this looks like Binghamton area west over almost to Buffalo, south of Rochester. So fire warning up there like we talked about. Blowing dust. Yeah, well, yes, Denise, the winds do suck. I had forgotten, having not been home during severe weather here in East Tennessee, the sound of the wind coming over and up through the mountains. I had forgotten that sound. It It's kind of eerie at night. Flood warnings down in Mississippi and winter weather advisory. We talked about this in Iowa. It's going to be extending further towards the center of the state in the higher elevations later this evening with that snowfall, with blizzard-like conditions apart in some parts. And they're still going to be blessed this evening with high winds. Winter weather advisory for Wisconsin. Several of them have been issued with some winter storm warnings. So Wisconsin, take heed. It's going to snow. It's not football season up there. It's March Madness time. Why is it still snowing up there? All right. And so we still have Iowa and Minneapolis, Minnesota. Yeah. Some snow blizzard warnings for them. So we'll see tomorrow where our power outages are. I bet that we'll be able to see where the power outages are based on the winds and the snow. Flood warnings for Amanda over in Kentucky and down in Texas for Brenda. So, all right. Everybody keep on your heads and toes. There's some weather going on everywhere. Wendell says, I can't remove the last post. What was your last post? I don't understand. What did you do, Wendell? Why are you breaking the internet, Wendell? Stop breaking the internet. And some parts of Tennessee where I'm at will be having, this is more towards central Tennessee, wind advisory today. Was it windy earlier today when I was out there? All right, here is the fantabulous wind map that we're all here for. This is the AI for everybody that's on Radio X, Yerg's Radio, maybe listening in tonight on Pine Island, and you want to come check it out. Come over to the Paranormal Guys. It's 3 words, guys with a Z, and you can check out the AI wind that we pull up every day. It's a fan favorite, and we get to see where all the current windy conditions. Chris says, if I'm a weather warning, I'm staying away from Brenda. Yeah. I haven't heard from her in a couple days. I need to check on her. So there's that little trough along the coastline that's stirring up towards the Alaska basin. And it's just kind of sitting there. And that's what's been pushing this weather. But it's going to supposedly push across the country early into next week. And some are saying it may meet up with this cold front up here towards Antarctica and bring even more chilly weather to much of the country. But right now we're just sitting here watching this spin right in the middle of the country and create havoc with the wind, the fire, and the dust storms, any higher elevation, the blizzard warnings, and in the central Midwest. That wouldn't be central Midwest. That would be the central Midwest with the tornadic activity. That old one is off to sea. It's pestering Bermuda there, as we can see. Down in the Gulf, it's trying really hard to pull that moist, warm water up into the Gulf of America. Let's hope it does. Spring breakers are hoping for it. Can you imagine being a spring breaker and trapped on Key West? That's like paradise. I'm kind of jealous now I think about it. Maybe I should have been down there. We'll hop over to Australia and see about the winds there. Well, it doesn't look as though there's too much, well, maybe a little bit of wind conditions on the southern end. The southwest is going to be the windiest. It looks like that pattern's just kind of blowing the air inland, but something is stopping it right there on the southeast side of Australia, and it's pushing it back there along the little, is that the Barrier Reef? At any rate, so it's pushing it back. So most of the winds will be going from southern Australia over towards the western tip, just the tip. And over in Brisbane, they will have some windy conditions, but nothing quite so severe as they had last week. And it's following the coastline southward down towards the lower islands of Australia. So, and I do apologize to all of my Australian radio listeners. You can make fun of me. I'm still learning. And so bear with me, please. I'm a work in progress. Just ask Mrs. Sportcat. She'll tell you. Where are we at? Where are we at? We wanted to look at, no, it's South America. No, we want to look over here. And where is Jude? I was thinking Jude was somewhere in here, but it doesn't look nearly as bad as the other map makes it, because this should be Madagascar, correct? And it said that it was crossing over Madagascar into Mozambique. But once again, like the past storm, it's doing that weird little thing where it's kind of detouring a little and just sitting there. I haven't got a knack for forecasting cyclones south of the equator, which would be a hurricane too. But so yeah, we'll look at that map here in just a minute and see. But so far, it just seems like the winds are around 19 miles an hour right there off of Mozambique, and only up to 33 miles an hour. So maybe it's just sitting out here. But even the winds there are only, what, 48 miles an hour? No, it's kilometers an hour. Okay. So yeah, it's a little bit faster than that. All right. Let's get out of this map. And I brought this up only because we talked about it yesterday, since we're starting to get into the hurricane season. And this, I just did the Atlantic Basin storm names. And so the first named storm of 2025, which is where we're at right now, will be Andrea, then followed by Barry, Chantel. I have a weird story about a Chantel. Dexter. Nothing good can come from a storm named Dexter. Aaron. Okay. I'm reading that as Ferdinand, but they're calling it Ferdinand. Sounds like Rednecks wrote this. That's being called, that's the pronunciation is, that's Ferdinand. Huh. Okay. Shouldn't it be Ferdinand? I don't know. Gabrielle, Humberto, Amelia, Jerry. There's nothing good from a storm named Jerry. There's nothing even better than a storm named Karen. If we get this far in, we're in trouble. Lorenzo, Melissa, Nestor, Olga, Pabla, Rebecca. Ooh, that'll be an ugly one. Sebastian, Tanya. Oh, that could be a bad one too. Van. Seems kind of like a simple name. And Wendy. All right. So let's hope that we don't make it to Wendy. Why don't we have a storm named Zebra or Zulu? Or I digress. All right. Sorry. But yeah, most of these, I read a while back that they changed the names to, they had more of a, trying to think of how to say a Pacific sounding name, more of a Latino sounding name, because they were easier to pronounce over the radio or be heard if you were in distress. But I read that as Ferdinand, and their pronunciation is Ferdinand. Maybe, I don't know. My Spanish isn't very good, so maybe, I don't know. I got nothing. Don't at me over that one, because I don't know. I would say see Bobby Dizzle for complaints, but he's having some snowflake issues at the moment. So don't at Bobby Dizzle. All right. So the National Hurricane Center, yesterday they had put a little X over here as a less than 10% chance. At one point in time, they were concerned about another one up here. And then today it's all gone. It's wiped off of the map, and they say there is nothing to be concerned about for the next 7 to 10 days. So I don't know maybe it was a glitch. I don't know. In the Central Pacific, I don't believe. In the Eastern Pacific, I don't believe you have anything to worry about as well. So I believe we're all good. Well, maybe not in the Central Pacific. So, but it's all good there. All right. I bring up this map only because we were talking about Cyclone Jude. Bring the map up, make it a little bit larger so we can all see it and share like here. Madagascar into Mozambique is where we were concerned about it. And this storm, Jude, is just doing that funky little thing like the other one did. Look at this. It's doing a crazy pattern. It's coming from up here across the tip, and it's going to, no, I'm sorry. Yes, it's coming up here and it's coming down and back out, even though it just stalled and sat up here for a day or two. So currently, we should be worried about it off the shore, but they're still worried about it in Madagascar. I don't know how old this map is. I thought this was the most recent one, but it's crazy how the storms south of the, or on the opposite side of the lower side of the equator, are how they move so erratically as compared to, I mean, ours, we get the spaghetti monster, but these move so much more different than what I've seen. So, but at any rate, it is still at 63 miles an hour. It's a tropical storm. So it's going to be moving back out to the southwest if it has not already. Go figure. So there you go. I was pretty sure that was the most recent daily map, and yeah, that's the most recent daily map. And it was, it was published last night after the show. It's the cyclone for Africa and Madagascar. So, all right. The event list, I updated this for today so that we didn't have to sit there in the map and go over each little one. Let me refresh it to make sure there's nothing crazy. Yes, continue. So we'll start with biological attacks, and 70 people were injured as bee attacks amidst a bomb scare. And this was in India earlier today, overnight for us, or overnight for them, earlier for us. And they had 50 injured during a funeral gathering in India. All right. The Netherlands, the measles outbreak is getting higher over there. It's now in 4 Dutch primary schools. Nigeria, Lassa fever is an issue. In Kazakhstan, 8 children die of measles. Kazakhstan. Nigeria, 23 new infections of diphtheria. And let's see, epidemic hazard, Argentina, Buenos Aires City, measles have triggered a joint government response. Seems to be something happening here. Haven't we seen a trend in this of measles? Finland, a norovirus outbreak. And critical infrastructure, Haiti, they've closed their port because of emergency curfew. Wonder why that is. 16 updates. Could I get info on that? Why did they close their port? I may have just broke it. Collapse of public administration. Haiti's main port was closed Thursday after attack by armed gangs, said the port operator. Caribbean Port Services said malicious acts of sabotage and vandalism led to the decision after armed men broke into the port. Well, that's bad. They shouldn't be doing that. So, all right. All right, how do I close this? Go back. Because it's not fresh news, but I was just kind of curious as to why it was that way. But all right, so that's that one. So let's go back over here. All right. Tehran is facing a water crisis as reservoir level plummets. It's a couple days old, but still affects us. Nigeria, airstrikes have been a problem from the NAF, so I don't know which army that is. Syria, at least 70 people were killed in clashes as curfew has been imposed. That country is just in such turmoil right now. Congo, 9 UN peacekeepers were injured as rebels closed in on them. That's old. That's old. We'll go on. Massive displacement. Italy, 6 people dead, 40 missing after a migrant shipwreck off of Italy's Lampedusa. All right. Cyprus, overnight, 7 dead after a refugee boat capsized off the Cyprus coast. All right. In United States, Tesla attack map shows wave of Elon Musk products being targeted. Do they show the map? I'd like to see the map. Tesla attack map shows wave. All right. Cybertruck's and I actually did a YouTube short and a TikTok on this yesterday because it really just pissed me off with using the word hunting. I don't think we should be hunting human beings. Vehicle is one thing, but you're hunting people in the vehicle. That's wrong. Cybertrucks are being set ablaze, showrooms defaced, and charging stations shot. A wave of attacks on Tesla properties and products have been reported across the U.S. Newsweek has mapped out these attacks based on various news reports, police reports, and letters to the DOJ. Why it matters: Tesla CEO Elon Musk increasing influence in the White House under the president's administration appears to have made his electric vehicle company a target for political backlash. The party of peace and unity. Check. After he was appointed to the newly created Department of Government Efficiency, DOGE, not to be confused with the Dodge truck, tasked with cutting government spending and not an actual government department. Musk has faced criticism for DOGE's efforts, which included laying off federal employees and freezing foreign aid. Tesla's favorability among Democrats has been dropping over the last year, despite once being more popular among members of the party than among Republicans. Check out my YouTube short. You'll get my comments on that. It's funny how just 1 month and an orange man changes everything. Party of peace and unity now wants to hunt you down. No serious injuries have been reported so far, and the most recent attacks occurred at a Tesla collision center in Las Vegas on March 18th. We reported that yesterday. Several vehicles were set on fire, and the word resist was spray painted in red on the building's front doors, according to authorities. On the same day, a couple of Cybertrucks caught fire at a dealership in Kansas City, Missouri. Police are investigating a potential arson attack in Tigard, Oregon, a Portland suburb. Gunshots were fired at a Tesla dealership on March 6th, damaging vehicles and the building. A second shooting incident occurred at the same location on 13 March. Peaceful. In Linwood, Washington, 6 Tesla vehicles were vandalized on March 11th, including one that was defaced with swastikas. Yes. They're calling him a Nazi. Get an education. In Massachusetts, 3 Tesla vehicles were vandalized March 11th, spray painted with graffiti and tire damage, according to police. In Seattle, 4 Tesla Cybertrucks were destroyed at a dealership. In Littleton, Mass., multiple Tesla vehicles were vandalized at a Tesla dealership on March 3rd, according to police. On March 2nd, "No Musk" was written in red spray paint on the windows of the Tesla dealerships in Owings Mill, Maryland, according to ABC News. North Charleston, South Carolina, Daniel Clark Pounder, 24, of James Island, was arrested on 14 March on criminal charges related to an arson attack at a Tesla charging station March 7th. Witnesses said the man spray painted in red paint "F Trump" and "Long Live Ukraine," according to the U.S. Attorney's Office. In Colorado, an individual was arrested for attempting to plant an explosive device and vandalizing a Tesla dealership. Tesla has also been targeted outside of the U.S. in London. Climate activists from Just Stop Oil poured orange liquid. I can't with these people. Really? Orange liquid over a humanoid robot at a Tesla store on March 12th. On Sunday, 20 cars were reportedly damaged in Belfast, North Ireland, according to the Daily Mail. Tesla has been removed from the Vancouver International Auto Show because the organizers are citing safety concern. Yeah, you don't say. The party of peace. Yeah, they're. Musk said in an interview with Sean Hannity on Fox on Tuesday, "It comes as quite a shock to me that this level of hatred and violence from the left. I thought the left, the Democrats, were supposed to be the party of empathy and the party of caring, and yet they're burning down cars, they're firebombing dealerships, firing bullets into dealerships, and they're smashing up Teslas. Remember, he used to be a Democrat. Let that sink in, folks. He used to be a Democrat. The Party of Peace. I skipped an entire article I was going to do on the Party of Peace, but I may go back and cover it if we've got time, because now they've pissed me off. So, what people are saying, people are writing, this level of violence is insane and deeply wrong. Yes, Tesla just makes electric cars and has done nothing to deserve these attacks. Attorney General Pam Bondi said in a statement in the New York Times, the swarm of violent attacks on Tesla property is nothing short of domestic terrorism. We will continue investigations that impose severe consequences of those involved in these attacks, including those operating behind the scenes to coordinate and fund these crimes. Huh. Yes, that's the next thing. Is there a larger, bigger issue that somebody is behind all this? I would not doubt the Illuminati has something to do with this. Chris says, I'm old enough to actually remember when setting cars on fires was bad for the environment. You think? Not to mention, as I pointed out in my YouTube short and TikTok, it's incredibly dangerous to those around you because of the lithium battery and to the first responders. That's why I have such a problem with it. Yes, Denise, you are correct. That's what makes this all ironic. The Party of Peace, loving, and unity, and we're all going to hug and kumbaya, is a party of bullshit. So, I don't know if I can say that on FM, but Ross said another word earlier, so that's my one allowed word. But just Sportcat rant for a second. This is why your favorability is below 29%. This is why there was a sweeping movement across the country. Chris says Denise spelled moronic wrong. This is why you're not liked. All right. So we'll go on. India, 3 were killed in a group clash over suspected witchcraft. I have a story about that later. In Ganjam, Nigeria, violence erupts in Innu community over alleged herdsman's attack. I consider that'd be a problem. And then there's the party of law and order are not. Well, I'm sorry, Ross, if you don't like that, the fact that most of the people that are doing this are on the Democrat side, that's not very law and orderly. So I don't know. There's a series of courts that they need to be in. So Peru has declared an emergency and deployed the army as violence surges in the capital. India, 47 people detained, 14 cops injured in violence against the prime minister. All right, Germany, and that's kind of old news, but fatally shoot a suspect after a knife attack. Serial demonstrations, North Macedonia. Pain and anger grip North Macedonia after a fire tragedy. We talked about that yesterday. Let's see. War, Israel. Well, the war is hot again. It's on, and it's going to be nothing. I know who you're talking about, Ross. You're saying that we're the party of law and order, not, well, we're certainly not the party out there threatening to kill the president of the United States, threatening to burn places to the ground, hunting families, driving in their SUV and throwing things at them and yelling things at them. Yeah, that's certainly not law and order, Ross. I'm sorry if you disagree. Ukraine. Republicans say they back the blue, then turn around and pardon 1,200 domestic terrorists. Okay, Ross, you're going to try and make a point here. They weren't domestic terrorists, and they weren't charged with domestic terrorism. All right, Ukraine, 2 Russian villages evacuated at fire munitions depot. That's old. Ecological disaster, Mongolia, coal pollution chokes. I can't even pronounce that. Ulaanbaatar are blatantly disregarded court orders. They were out over international waters. So, Australia, strange phone. We talked about that yesterday in Dead Fish. Okay, well, they were traitors. Hmm. I don't even have a good comeback for you there, Ross. Ecuador oil spill in Ecuador River brings emergency declaration in the U.S. In Palo Alto, they're spraying for aggressive mosquitoes. We talked about that yesterday. Nigeria tensions hit as a pipeline in the Trans Niger pipeline exploded. All right. And UK, Southampton explosions. Huge fireball erupts outside of a shopping center, probably party of peace. Thailand, neighbors of Korat scrapyard evacuated after fatal explosion. So let's see, it's old fire. Nepal, fire destroys 17 houses, 8 home shades, and 10 sheds. I wonder if that means homesteads in Nepal. And United States, 3 dead, 1 injured overnight in a house fire. We talked about that one. And Belgium, 150 inmates evacuated to exercise yard during a fire. Nigeria, fire destroys trucks at a Kwara Park. And Japan, 2 dead, 1 without vital signs after a residential fire in Western Japan. And we talked about this one the other day, or was it last week? There is, Ross, but it's there's 6 first responders that are dead. Now, they are not dead because of and if that was the case, Ross, why were they not listed as line of duty? I'll wait. Let's see. Australia, 400 guests evacuated as fire erupts in Australia Hilton Hotel. Outdoor fire in Iraq and Laos, Australia, in Oceania, and several large fires in Australia and Venezuela. In geological, Dominican Republic was a 4.0 earthquake. The Coral Sea had 1 earthquake. Indonesia had a 4.0, 4.9 in Coral Sea. Indonesia, 4.6. The Southern Ocean was a 5.0. That was in Antarctica. That was what I was telling you about, Wendell. And 5.0. The North Pacific Ocean was a 4.7. And down in Indonesia overnight, they had a 4.5. Had 2 of them. Actually, 2 of them, a 4.5 and a 4.0, with a 4.0 in Iceland. Landslide in Bolivia and United States. A massive 200-foot sinkhole in Texas is growing rapidly. I need to find out about that one. I hadn't heard of that one. Oh, I don't know who you're calling. Are you calling me unprofessional, Ross? Because I'm saying if it wasn't called a line of duty death, it wasn't a result of. Well, if that's the case, why are firefighters that die from cancer that is obviously a result of their career choice, why are they not considered line of duty? I mean, we can stretch this as far as you'd like. So, I mean, I will pick a bone on that one. United States, kill away a volcano. I did read about this. It has not totally erupted, but they're concerned about it. Spur, that was the one that was leaking, wasn't it? And yes, that was over the weekend. Iceland, volcano on Iceland's, and I'm not even going to try and pronounce that one, peninsula erupts for the 7th time in a year. Flooding in Spain. Good Lord, maybe I should have went to the map. And flooding in Italy, that's old. Industrial, more than 8,000 without power. Storm swept across Denver. We talked about that. That must be a little old because I didn't see Colorado on the map. Netherlands, power outage in The Hague, affecting 45,000 households with a chaotic rush hour. No, firefighter line of duty death. Cancer is not considered a firefighter line of duty death, if that's what you're talking about. And I don't believe they were line of duty deaths. Ross, release of toxic river Zambia. A river died overnight. A river died overnight after acidic. Okay, they're talking about, I guess, the wildlife in the river died overnight in Zambia after an acidic waste spill at a Chinese-owned mine. Australia had the chlorine leak the other day. We talked about that. Federal law enforcement, where's various subs have scored funding for 9/11 responders who died of cancer linked contact. You're talking about one specific event on 9/11. Yes, you are correct. They have. But if you go and you look, majority of the United States, line of duty death due to cancer is not a thing. You're not awarded money. You're not listed on the wall. You do not get full line of duty death benefits or burial. And I can tell you that firsthand because two of my firefighter friends have died from it. And the state of Georgia is one of the states, much like rest of the United States, that does not recognize cancer as a leading cause. So let's see. Russia, attack helicopter crashed in the Russian Federation. Okay. Malaysia, flight MH270 initiates emergency response after a cargo fire alert. I did have a funny story. A plane from LAX to Hartsfield, they had a subject get a little bit crazy and started biting people and had to be restrained. I just said they are not considered line of duty deaths. Not 9/11 as an event, they were considered line of duty deaths, yes, but not secondary to cancer. They've isolated that to the terrorist event on 9/11. And okay, you said that the 6 officers who died from January 6th aren't line of duty death. See an NBC story. Okay, well, you can send it to me, but you can go and look and see if they got line of duty death benefits. In other words, I'm saying, was it recognized by the federal government, which at that time would have been a Democrat administration? Was it recognized as line of duty death for the federal government and to the families? Okay, you're saying I want to see that. I have not seen that. I could be wrong, but I don't believe so. Because once again, if that's the case, then why is suicide not a line of duty death in law enforcement? 2 female police officers died of suicide in the past 48 hours. They're not line of duty death. Don't you get me riled up on the line of duty death in public safety, Ross? Public road accident. India, 30 injury after a van overturns in Ganjam. And let's see, that one's old. 4 children among 7 missing as a boat capsized. Madhya Pradesh Dam. That's in India. And tropical cyclone 26-25. Okay. Is affecting the Cocos Islands in Asia. Drought in Iran. That's also due to the dust storms. Liberia, they're also suffering for, no, that's old. All right. Extreme rainfall. Madagascar, obviously, with Jude. Indonesia, Colombia, and Thailand. Honduras, Namibia, New Zealand are also having extreme rainfall. And United States, Iowa has severe hail in the county of Clinton and the county of Hardwin for extreme hail. Oh, and I guess those county in Nebraska, the entire state. All right. Heat wave in India. Lightning in Armenia. Good Lord, this is going deeper than I wanted to go. In Turkey, Malaysia, Mozambique. Well, that's to be expected with the cyclone. And thick fog in China. And in the Russian Federation. Severe weather, the United States tornadic outbreak. Damaging winds, large hail threatens the Midwest and the South. That was over the weekend. And Federas, Iran, stormy weather. I'm going to skip through all that because we talked about that. 2 Arkansas tornadoes rated EF4. And that was over the weekend. All right. Okay, Ross, I can't keep just having a conversation with I do see me say I do this. Okay, I can't. So it was natural causes. He was the one who had a stroke, I believe, Ross. But some people are saying it's secondary. I could make the argument both ways. All right, I'm going to do this one by the list because we've talked about most of these. I'm going to refresh this too while I'm at it. Because I learned yesterday after I didn't refresh it, I went back and looked that there was more things that we hadn't talked about. And really real quick, we're just looking at the winter storms. I'm going to cover mostly in the United States and Australia. Um, the winter storms and the severe extreme weather in the Midwest is pretty much what we're looking at today. Volcanic eruption, the wildfire down in Homestead. Hopefully they'll get that under control and be able to get the spring breakers out of Key West. Air quality in Lake Louise. Where is that? That's in Canada. Okay, I was thinking that might be Virginia. And Iowa tornadoes, Illinois tornadoes, Indiana's tornado, and yeah, these are back to the thunderstorms and winter storms we talked about earlier. All right, so I'm going to skip through this one. I can't give you more updates on it than we already got. All right. This is the New England Fire News Alert. You can go look at it at New England Fire News. And the doctor's still employed by the Trump administration. Okay, I'm not sure what you mean by that, Ross, but we'll talk later. 319 Berlin, Mass. They had a fire. That was what? That was 5:48 this morning. Is this most recently updated? In Queens, they had a fire at 5 o'clock this morning at all hands. All hands means that it's not a second alarm per se, but it means that everybody's going to work. On 17th Road, they had a secondary search was complete and negative, which means that there was no one inside the structure. Everyone was out. Everyone was safe. And Staten Island, they also had an on all hands. The 23rd Battalion reports a one line stretched and operating, means one fire hose is on it. The body of the fire is knocked down and they're opening up. What that means is they're cutting holes in the roof to let out the steam and the heat. In Queens, that's the one we talked about earlier. That was the one in Queens. And Staten Island, that's the one we talked about. And let's see, it looks like Staten Island was where the last was. Fairfax County overnight at 3 in the morning, Locust Way, 6,000 Locust Way. Fairfax County were on a working structure fire. It was a large mega structure. Overnight in Charlotte, North Carolina, a second alarm on Fairview Road for an apartment building. And Dallas, Texas, they had a fire in a one-story brick dwelling overnight. That was about 1 a.m. And let's see here. Millington, Michigan. On scene, a second alarm struck for fire showing from a detached garage. No hydrants in the area. That means basically they had to call a second alarm for extra people. So they needed people and water because you got to stretch long lines for that. And you have to sometimes set up portable tanks for operation. And this will be into overnight. Last night, Danvers, Massachusetts, outdoor shed with gas propane leak. Oh, that's not good. And this is as far back as they're going. Entrapment in Taunton, Mass, on scene with the MVA with entrapment. So that was that. I'm kind of, usually they update better than that and more often than that. I'm disappointed. That's not the right word, but it had been a better source for us here throughout our stories. And this is the last we'll talk about the fires, but the main thing I wanted to show was the smoke on this one. We see that in Oklahoma, in Texas, up there at the tip, and the fires are still raging, but the smoke is blowing down into Mexico in the lower portion, San Antonio south over to Monterey. In the fires in Miami, you can see here where the main body of the smoke, the fire was close to the interstate, or it's not interstate there, I'm sorry, it's Route 1, but the smoke was the biggest problem. In some areas of this, there is zero visibility. And Chris says, some people want me to believe nothing is out of the ordinary with Gene Hackman and his wife. They want me to go about my business and believe their ever-changing story. Yeah, that's been a crazy, crazy story. I don't even know what to make of that one. I haven't really covered that one because it's just been so bizarre. I mean, just bizarre. So smoke conditions. We looked at the air quality earlier, and this is probably because of the smoke that's coming off a lot of the fires, troughing up through the not really the Atlantic coastline, pretty much the southern coastline, Georgia and the Carolinas. And do we have any smoke reports or fires in other parts of the world in this map? Is this the one we looked at? No, this is not. All right, we're going to go to different news now. No, not that one. Not that one either. Good Lord. Oh, it's over here. No, it ain't over here. Where is it? That's it. Today's. All right. Here we are. Good Lord. Where am I? Let me find my screen over here too. Push too many buttons. All right. Chinese warships circle Australia, and they are stroking an anxious nation's fears. Well, Sydney, an unprecedented move by the Chinese warships to circumnavigate Australian territory, has touched a nerve as the country grows increasingly concerned about China's reach and intentions in the region. Australia's military spotted 3 Chinese warships on 10 February out in the RFR Sea of the northern tip of Australia, but appeared to have little inkling as to what the ships were doing. They were just setting out on unprecedented voyages that would bring them within 150 nautical miles of Sydney as part of what is likely to be, according to the defense minister, a complete circumventual navigation of Australia. I should have went and got the whole article, but I actually saw this covered. They were doing war games completely circling Australia, and the intelligence aircrafts that the U.S. and Australia have up monitoring this, the flight paths have almost covered the entire continent. It was pretty impressive. I'll give a shout out to Monkeyworks for that, because he did a great story on that one. Okay. Attorney General Bondi has warned that the swarm of violent attacks on Tesla as domestic terrorism. Agreed. U.S. Attorney General Bondi released a statement overnight calling the violent attacks on Tesla showrooms, service centers, supercharger networks, and vehicles nothing short of domestic terrorism. The swarm of violent attacks on Tesla property is nothing short of domestic terrorism. The DOJ has already charged several perpetrators with that in mind, including cases that involve chargers with 5 to 6 year mandatory minimum sentences, Bondi stated in a press release. She went on to say, "We will continue to investigate that impose severe consequences on those involved in these attacks, including those operating behind the scenes," which is what we talked about earlier. So, and we saw yesterday the fires. That was at the Las Vegas dealership where there was multiple cars set on fire. So, and I don't think this is just really covering Twitter showing all the stuff there and going, and it should be. Oh yeah, I did hear this earlier. A website called Doge Quest is publishing names and addresses and phone numbers of Tesla owners across the U.S., complete with an interactive map and Molotov cocktail cursor. So that's real peaceful. That's a peaceful protest. Jesus Christ. Can't with these people. So you can catch go to Twitter and see all of this. It's quite disturbing what the peaceful party is doing. So like I said, I also made a YouTube short and a TikTok on it if you want to check it out. This was one of the stories I wanted to get to. How much time do I got? About 40 minutes. This is exclusive to, was it the Daily Wire? I think, yes, the Daily Wire. Catholic group urges Kansas governor to block satanic black mass at the state capitol. The state house belongs to the people of all religious beliefs and cannot be used for religious desecration. A prominent Catholic group is urging Kansas Governor Laura Kelly to stop a Satanist group, is that right? Satanist, performing a black mass at the State House. The Satanic Grotto is planning to hold a black mass on 28 March at the Kansas state capitol in Topeka, causing alarm among critics who warned the controversial event is wildly offensive to Catholics and could be disruptive. Catholic Vote, one of the country's largest Catholic advocacy groups, sent a letter to Kelly, a Democrat, on Wednesday, urging her to prevent any religious tearing it up at the Capitol building. While we recognize the constitutional protections for speech and expression, we also trust that your office understands the importance of maintaining law and order and the integrity of the government property against any attempts to disrupt its normal function, wrote Logan Church from Catholic Vote Directors, a political operation, in his letter to Kelly, which was provided to the Daily Wire. The Satanic Grotto, and this is their reply, is saying they're holding their Black Mass event, will dedicate the grounds in our legislature to the glory of Satan. God will fall and Kansas will be embraced by the black flame of Lucifer, according to the group. And the spokesperson said, I will be performing that Black Mass at our state capitol. Satanic Grotto President Michael Stewart had told the Daily Wire, if they have to arrest me, they have to arrest me. A Black Mass is an explicit parody of the Catholic Mass that may use concentrated conservated, while Catholics believe to be the physical body, soul, and divinity of Jesus Christ. We have wafers, Stewart said. I don't want to comment on whether they're consecrated or not because that would ruin the mystery. There's going to be bad heads. Catholic Vote said the Black Mass event clearly violates building policies and established protocols and is an unauthorized use of the State House. The group said it is deeply concerned about the potential legal entry and disorder at the Capitol building and urged the governor to strictly enforce the policies governing the use of the Capitol building. The State House belongs to the people of all religious beliefs and cannot be used for religious desecration. The group wrote, if Stewart or his group attempts to trespass or disrupt the Capitol's function, law enforcement should be fully prepared to respond appropriately, including arrest if necessary, Catholic Vote wrote. The group called on the governor to make sure security limits entry to those with official business and is prepared to prevent safety threats to members of the public, including those peacefully praying outside. The Kansas Capitol symbolizes law and order and the value of the people. It represents allowing a group that openly declares its intent to violate regulations and perform blasphemous acts inside a state building, which would set a dangerous precedent, Catholic Vote said. Kelly has said that all events on March 28th will be moved outdoors and no protests will be allowed in the State House on that day. Respect for the constitutional rights must be balanced with commitment to preserving order, safety, and integrity of public institutions, Church said in a statement to the Daily Wire. When an individual or group openly challenges the law that governs public spaces, it is not only a matter of policy enforcement, but of protecting the values that hold our community together. She added, Christians everywhere should unite, standing firm against such blasphemous actions from all angles through peaceful protest, public dialogue, and unwavering support for the sanctity of our shared values. Apparently, this guy has previously showed up at other places and performed lewd gestures to pro-life protesters. All right, so apparently there's going to be a Black Mass at the State House on March 28th in Kansas City. We'll have more on that. That's definitely an interesting piece. I love the quote in there that they were going to release Satan onto Kansas or whatever. Where's Toto when you need him? Oh, goodness gracious. And yesterday we welcomed home our astronauts who had been up in space for several months. And as soon as they, well, not as soon as they splashed down with the capsule, they were welcomed not just by us and all the camera crew, but they were welcomed by dolphins. Yeah, several dolphins came up and were curious about it, approached it, and just kind of checked it out. They were seen leaping out of the water nearby and appear unfazed that something from space had just fallen down on top of them. So In the video, a female voice was describing some of the safety checks taking place in the procedures for pulling the capsule out of the ocean. But then she saw something else. Wow, we got a cute little pod of dolphins. It wasn't just two. I mean, the water just looks beautiful. Yeah, there was quite a few of them. It was fun to see. So hopefully there was nothing on it that had venom. Was it venom? Yeah, venom come from outer space. Yeah, hopefully venom didn't get on a dolphin. So, yep, the dolphins were there to welcome the NASA astronauts home after having been stranded. There's a picture of them, dolphin cam. I think that's great. That they just happened, I guess, be cruising near and they heard this big splash and they're like, hey, let's go check this out. So you can see all the videos. I can't play them because of copyright violations, but you can go see all of them over on X, formerly known as Twitter. But it was quite cute. And then somebody asked me, gosh darn it. Well, we'll just talk about it. Somebody asked me yesterday about, had messaged me and asked me, they saw that these astronauts were carried off on either a stretcher or basically in small wheelchairs, and they call them stair chairs. And it's considered mostly peaceful, just like when CNN reported the fire. It was a raging fire. Yeah, they took over that Wendy's. Wendy's still can't build on that parking lot in Atlanta. But somebody asked me about why the astronauts were being wheeled off in either gurneys or small makeshift wheelchairs. And those wheelchairs that they were using are actually called stair chairs. We use them in EMS, and they're just light, foldable aluminum wheelchairs. And that's because for however many months they've been out in space, our body does what we call homeostasis, means it's always trying to return to normal. Well, when it was in space, its normal was different than what it is here on Earth. And it takes the brain a little while and the body a little while to overcome because you've been used to floating through, the capsule. Well, now you've got gravity pulling you down. And in fact, one of the astronauts was quoted as saying that she's having to learn to walk again. I don't think that it's so much she's having to learn to walk again. I think it's just basically getting the body mechanics back to what they were, because you're out there for so long. The only problem with prolonged life in space or visits to space, as far as health concerns so far that they found, is one brain disease called intracranial hypertension. And that's basically your heart has blood. It's the heart, the pump, the veins, the vessel, the blood, the fluid. It goes round and round, and it's controlled by the pressure of the heart and the body and the mind. Well, the same for your brain. It has pumps all up and down your spine and in your cranium, your skull, that moves the spinal and the fluid around, the spinal fluid around, and the fluid around your brain and spine. Well, those pumps can be messed up, just like you can have high blood pressure. You can have high pressure on your brain. That's the only long-term effect that they have found on astronauts. Every astronaut that has returned home has had intracranial hypertension. If you want to ask me why I know this weird fact, it's because I'm one of the few Americans that hasn't traveled in space that has that disease. Okay. So we're going to talk about Doge again. So prepare to get people upset here. Inside the now shuttered, and this is on the Daily Wire if you want to go check it out. Inside the now shuttered federal agencies where employees live like reigning kings. One of the 7 small agencies that President Donald Trump ordered downsized or eliminated Friday was rife with corruption. Its employees hire friends, relatives, commissions painting of themselves, and using government credit cards to indulge in constant luxury. The Federal Mediation and Consolation Services, hence why it's known as FMCS, occupied a 9-story office tower on K Street. We're going to talk about K Street here in a minute too, in another story, by nearly 60 employees, many who actually worked from home prior to the pandemic. Its managers had luxury suites, full bathrooms. One manager would often be in the shower when she was needed, while another used her bathroom as a cigarette lounge. FMCS recorded its director as being on a years-long business trip to DC so he could have all of his meals and living expenses covered by taxpayers simply for showing up at the office. FMCS is a 230 employee agency that exists to serve as a voluntary mediator between unions and businesses. As an independent agency, its director nominally reports to the president, but the agency is so small that in fact there is no oversight at all, and it showed becoming a real-life caricature. It's where they're making fun of cartoon when they're making fun of it, of the department, where it's a target of Doge. This reporter talking about the I forgot which one is this. The reporter for this agency has done a year-long investigation into the agency. And that was over a decade ago. And the self-serving violations of hiring, pay, contracting, purchasing cards rules. One thing I could not discover is why the agency actually existed other than to provide luxurious lifestyles for its employees. Endless junkets to resort destinations, which employees openly used to facilitate personal vacations, were justified as building awareness of the agency in the hopes that someone would actually want to use its voluntary services. FMCS seemed quite clearly to exist for the benefit of those on its payroll and not much else, one employee told me. Let me give you an honest truth. A lot of FMCS employees don't do a hell of a lot, including myself. Personally, the reason I've stayed is that I just don't feel like working that hard. Plus, the location on K Street is great. We have all these oversized offices with windows. Plus, management doesn't seem to care if we stay out at lunch a long time. Can you blame me? Top FMCS official George Cohen used a recreation and reception fund to order champagne and $200 coasters for his office and to purchase artwork painted by his wife. The tiny agency commissioned paintings of its top employees. One employee told me they were like reigning kings. I've never seen anything like it before. It spent $2,402 retouching the portrait of someone who briefly held the top job in an acting capacity. FMCSs unblocked their own government credit cards to turn off typical abuse protections that then use them to apparently fund personal experiences and simply bill anything they'd like to the government. One employee leased a BMW. Another, IT director James Donnan, billed the government for his wife's cell phone, cable, and cable TV at both his home and his vacation home, even his subscription to the USA Today. I'll let him have that one. Employee Dan Funkhauser used his card to rent a storage unit near his home in rural Virginia, 2 hours from the office he supposedly worked at, which was used to store personal possessions such as photo albums of his dog Buster. He also spent $18,000 at a jewelry store near his house and destroyed all purchase card records upon leaving the agency, according to an audit. When Charles Burton retired from FMCS, he incorporated to an LLC to which FMC employees paid $85,000 using his purchase card, listing it as a call center service, even though the company had neither a website nor working phone. When accountant Carol Booth blew the whistle on the financial abuses to the GSA, Government General Services Administration, which manages purchase cards and contracting, Cohen forced her to send an email, which he wrote under her name, rescinding the statement. Like something out of The Office, the employees spent an inordinate amount of time and money congregating one another for being employed there and engaging in work that literally amounted to pampering themselves. One purchase was $30,000 on trinkets, making employees anniversaries. The agency's office was absurdly oversized, but it refused to move. It hired a consultant for a hallway improvement project to decorate it and an in-house gym for employees, and purchased a $1,000 TV for the gym, as well as a $3,867 ice maker and a $560 stereo. These expenses were all actual business related and were hardly better. Paid, for example, $895 for Susanna Nichner's enrollment in English Essentials, a grammar refresher course, and $735 for Lakeisha Stewart to attend listening and memory skill development. Seeing a trend here? Yes, why would you retire from a gig like that? You need someone to come in and do an audit and fire you. I don't want to pay for this. Employees allegedly steered contracts to friends, allowing them to write the statement of work that would be used to choose the contract winner, resulting in, of course, their own selection. Such trainers were paid $1,500 per day per person to train FMCS's staff, plus $163 an hour for travel. When a low-level employee eventually said the extra travel pay ran afoul of federal rules, a contractor made it clear he viewed it as an entitlement, huffing, "When we have successfully performed for the agency for more than a decade at great personal sacrifice, I should add, I will be taken away anything unless we comply in an unquestioning manner with your etiquette." That's a politician's answer. The top agency official, Scott Beckingbaugh, said he was paid $174,000 a year, but that wasn't enough. He had his duty station listed as Iowa so that he could have all of his expenses and food paid for in D.C., where he lived and worked, as if he were on a 6-year-long business trip. When an employee raised the issue to an agency lawyer, the lawyer told him he should not raise these issues. It could open a can of worms. You think? They hired a former mail carrier who lived in Pennsylvania, Luann Glazer, for a high-level DC-based job and agreed to pay for her to stay in a hotel for half of every other month, even though it would have been easy to find someone better qualified who didn't need to be put up in a hotel to simply do her job. Paul Voigt, a human resources official, was listed as living in D.C., even though he actually lived in Wisconsin, in order to fraudulently obtain higher cost of living pay. His boss was Artur Perlstein, who left the agency to become a law professor. They're shocking. And then rehired after his academic career imploded in a plagiarism scandal. It's even more shocking. His first move in his new job was terminating an independent investigation into FMCS staff abuse. Yeah, we don't need Doge. Many of the agency's top employees lived outside of typical Washington, D.C. commuting area and only stopped in the area occasionally. In the era before telework was routine, its CFO, Fran Leonard, would come into the office twice a week, but leave at 2. The agency had I can't pronounce that, inexplicably an office in Honolulu. It funded constant travels of its employees to exotic locales on the pretext that it was drumming up business for the federal agency, an admission that there was little demand for its existence. In 1 month, Beck traveled to Italy, Switzerland, where she conducted a business meeting over video chat. Then she went to Tunisia, an island off the coast of Georgia, and she flew first class and forced the agency to reimburse her for mileage when she drove to her vacation home in Maine. I'm just going to stop right there. $63,000 to a hospital that went bankrupt, $51,000 to childcare to pay for a licensing fee. Please, Doge, go close them down. We don't need that. Send them home. I'm sure they'll get their government pension, but good Lord. That's why we need Doge. That right there is the prime example of why we need Doge. All right, we're going to get away from government stories and get into entertainment. I think maybe I won't. I don't know, or it could just be in the wrong place. Travis Kelce is ready to bring his dating game to new heights. What kind of new heights do you bring your dating game to when your girlfriend is one of the most richest females on the planet and you're not doing too bad off yourself? What is the new height here? He went to a Knicks game with Taylor and during appearance at March 19th in an episode of New Heights. This was like 10 years ago, and I was there with my son, and literally we FaceTime my daughter, who's a huge Swiftie. She's now 23. I went to a Nick. Ben told Travis during his appearance on March 19th. He thinks a basketball game could provide the perfect new venue. and an assist with and needs an assist from Ben Stiller. High praise that Travis was more than happy to match. So he went to a Knicks game with her. Okay. Ben, who's often seen courtside at New York City's games, was all for the idea. You should definitely come. And the night at the museum, Star said before joking. And I got another story about him coming up. I can hook that up for sure. So they're going to be going to a New York Knicks game. She's been at many Kansas City games, and she's sparked a lot of chatter, but now she will be a Knicks fan. All right, so she's going to go to a Knicks fan. So make the friendship bracelets. I don't even want to go over this article because it scares me, because I have someone supposedly sending me a friendship bracelet. Kylie Jenner. We all remember who Kylie Jenner is, right? Did you know she's a mom? Well, apparently the 27-year-old who shares kids Stormy 7 and Airy 3 with Travis Scott is picking up their children in a red gown, or I'm sorry, she declared that she would wear this outfit to pick her kids up. It's a red gown made of latex. Apparently, this has upset many people. I can't see why that this is not appropriate for the PTA. Can anyone else? It seems to me that this would be fine to pick up your children at the schoolyard with. I'm sure she's not driving. So what is this right there? Anyhow, but some people didn't think that this was such a great idea. I looked at this article and I was like, I almost feel bad looking at this article, because this is pictures of her throughout her life, starting when she was way young to now her wearing a red latex dress to pick up her kids at school. Wait, does the PTA approve of that? I don't know. So we covered Juno yesterday. I figured we would cover this today. So red latex is apparently approved by the PTA. So this is Kylie through the years. And she has definitely grown up to be quite the lady. But red latex to pick up the kids at school, that to me is a little bit much. But hey, whatever. It's sad the Kardashians have their own tab on website. Yes, it's true. It is true. And like I said, I almost felt bad about looking at this article, because it goes back to, of course, I'm ancient. It goes back to looking at her from when she was a wee lad of, oh God, what was that? 2008. She was what, 16? So yeah. But yeah, she's picking up the kids in red latex. Yay. So there you go, Chris. That one was for you. All right. Do you remember? I know, Chris, you're old enough to remember The Fall Guy. It was a TV show that had Bionic Man in it. What's this? Probably going to say it here. Anyhow, this young lady, Heather Thomas, was she also not in Chips? She was in A Fall Guy from 1991 until it concluded in 1986. She took a few other shows, Red Blooded American Girl and Against the Law, but she left Hollywood in the 90s and disappeared because she was getting so many stalkers. It was really bad. It got to the point where she was dealing with 2 stalkers a week, she told a podcast host. She didn't tell me that. I wish she'd tell me that. I had a ton of restraining orders. I had 2 little girls, and a guy was jumping our gate with a giant buck knife. In those days, I don't know if this is true now, but people would fixate. You could be in a soap commercial and they would fixate on you. There weren't a lot of stalker laws, and I just needed to be home anyway. So she described the experience as scary and received some threatening items in the mail. Someone sent her a box of bullets. They would send her funeral wreaths that they sold from a graveyard. I always had a bodyguard in the house because that's where I didn't want to come home to a dark house. She explains that things turned violent. Lee Majors, that's right, Chris. I couldn't think of it. And Wendell, yes, I'm sure you remember. She explained that things turned violent when a man attempted to break into her bedroom. Had one guy cut my screen in my bedroom and got in, and I shot him. I did not know that. While clarifying that she had rock salt in her firearm. That's no fun. And she is still unsure if the intruder ever went to jail. California, probably not. Thomas said that she has not been open about her stalkers in the past because she did not want to be labeled as that lady that was stalked. Heather Thomas is still out of the limelight. She said that she discussed being sexualized in Hollywood. I think there's a certain amount of disassociation. She said in the industry, it was really my business. It would be like a woman who sold bathing suits. It was the way I sold things. Thomas said she was happy with her body because she worked hard for it, and she made her debut in Hollywood when she was a student at UCLA and wanted to focus on writing and directing, but she quickly learned it was rough for women. She ultimately chose to be on camera as opposed to behind the scenes because of the paycheck. She said she was making so much money that she chose the path of least resistance. You sent her a picture of you? No, I'm pretty sure. I need to go look this up. I'm pretty sure she was also in Chips. Wasn't she the female police officer in Chips? I don't know, but that's a shame that Hollywood had that problem even way back then. All right, we're going to talk about Robert De Niro and Ben again because, well, they're going to be making Meet the Parents 4. I love it. I'm not a fan of his politics, but I love the Meet the Parents. After a fourth Meet the Parents film was reported to be in the works back in December, with most of the original stars in talks, De Niro confirmed on Wednesday on an episode of The View, shocking, that he will be definitely involved. Said, Meet the Parents fan at the table. She took the opportunity to not only confirm that a fourth film is happening, but asked De Niro point blank, will you be involved? Yes, he said simply. He gave no further details on the plot. In addition to De Niro, it was reported that the film star Ben Stiller, Terry Polo, Blythe Danner were in the talks to reprise the characters. I hope so. I like Ben Stiller in that. Oh, were you in the wrong chat, Wendell? Did we lose you? She was fortunate in California. She was not sued by the intruder. You were correct. So yeah, I'm a big fan of this. Yes, I got it from somebody I know who's in the CIA. De Niro. Okay, so did not push for any spoilers, but she did circle back to the first film. De Niro recount how he got the famous lie detector scene in the film, which he revealed earlier to GQ this month. I got it from somebody I knew who was in the CIA. He told the ABC host. And then I thought, this is very interesting. Maybe this is something we could do. Those are great movies. I love those movies. So yeah, I'm excited about that. It'll probably be out around Christmas time, like all the others are, right? No, that was definitely the wrong button. Escape, F11, stop. Yeah, that's a fun movie. I liked it. I was the only one in that one. What? You were the only one in your own chat? Okay, well, that's no fun if you're talking to yourself. There's a new movie coming out called Ballerina, which is a John Wick spinoff. I can't show you the trailer because of obvious copyright violations, and it's being released by Lionsgate, and it's supposed to be action-packed, featuring more of Keanu Reeves than we'd seen before. Ballerina's new looks shows a stand between Anna de Armas and Eve and Reeves in a signature role. John Wick 5 was confirmed and may move forward without Keanu Reeves, but the reason he features in Ballerina is due to the fact that when the film was taking place in the events of 3 and 4, it was before the start of 4. That confuses me. Now with the return of John Wick's universe just months away, we're looking at what we know so far about Ballerina, including the new trailer, which y'all have to watch because I can't tell you. And so apparently it takes place during the events of John Wick Chapter 3, Parabellum. And cast members include Anna de Armas, Angelica Houston, Gabriel Byron, Lance Rick. I don't know any of these people. Norman Reedus, I know him. All new trailer images from Ballerinas include a closer look at Keanu Reeves as John Wick. Norman Reedus is Daniel Pine. He's a great actor. So yes, it's coming out. And what is the release date? Or was that up there earlier? Oh, there it is. June 6th. June 6th, it's coming out. So that looks like it's going to be a good movie to go see. All right, let me get my nerd on here for a minute. There is a comic book series out by DC Comics called Absolute. Well, it's a series called Absolute DC. Well, Absolute Batman is being hailed as probably one of the best comic books ever. And it's about pretty much Batman being Batman, but he doesn't hold back as much. And this most recent episode, he reveals to his enemies who he really is. So this has been, if you're a comic book fan, go check this one out. It's being rated as one of the best comic books ever. And we all know that DC and Marvel, they've been doing these superhero things back and forth. If they don't make a movie out of Absolute Batman, they've lost their mind because he is in this version of Absolute. He is more what you would expect of a Batman in today's modern society. And so they're giving us a view of what Batman would be like today. And they take it to the complete line. They're doing an Absolute universe. Not a huge fan because Marvel does the universe, but Absolute Batman, the art, the storyline, everything about it is amazing. So if you get a chance, they're only up to issue 6, which just came out. Go get them and probably buy 2. Buy 1 to read, 1 to keep away, because I have a feeling that will be one of those comic books later you will look to. So, and Chris, we missed out making our picks. The first games were yesterday, and so yeah, I know. Let's see. North Carolina beat San Diego State. Stanford beat CSNU. And from what I understand, Alabama State sent an absolutely stunning 3/4 press shot to beat the buzzer and win. Jacksonville State beat Georgia Tech, which was a shocker to the bracket. Let's see. I don't think there was any other. Women's tournament starts today. So the first 4 start this afternoon or this evening on ESPNU for the women's bracket. We'll hop over real quick and, well, let's do one thing before we do that. K Street College Classic. Remember we talked about K Street earlier in DC. Well, K Street, oh, shut up, Wendell. K Street is where a lot of the lobbying and financial stuff goes on with Washington, D.C. So Open Secrets, great website, by the way. Go check them out. They've got some really great stories on there. They broke down March Madness by schools dominating in the lobbying bracket. In other words, not who was the best player, who was the best at spending money. And so far, out of the 68 schools that are receiving bids that have lobbied the federal government, the furthest in them to exceed has been the University of Texas. I should be slapped for that in the March Madness. But altogether, the 68 teams in there have spent $16.5 million lobbying the government. That's crazy. Last year, the Final Four, the Longhorns took on the championship. They were the only school to spend 7 figures on lobbying in 2024. That was more than enough to carry the school all the way in the play game, topping Xavier, who hasn't lobbied since 2008, to the finals and defeated the University of Florida, doubling the Gators' total of $736,000. Texas, who is the biggest lobbyist, uses a number of outside firms, primarily Cornerstone Government Affairs, and employs 22 lobbyists who primarily focus on government funding, defense, scientific research. Amongst those lobbyists were a number of revolvers, in other words, elected officials, staffers, and regulators who work on K Street. So together, all the teams in the bracket, men's bracket, have spent $16.5 million lobbying our government. So, all right. So Florida was the only top seed to reach out of the Final Four last year, with beating Duke this year, making $784,000. And they go on to talk down here about which teams. I wish they put a list, but the University of California has spent as much as $2.2 million in 2024. Follow the money. I don't know if that has anything to do with the outcome of the tournament, but surely it doesn't. There was no new line of duty deaths. There's 2 female officers that committed suicide. They're not considered line of duty deaths. And there was 1 canine officer who was going to try and get the story up about, but that was overnight. The canine was shot while taking down a bad guy and saved his partner, the police officer. There's been no new fatalities for firefighters. And the only thing I missed so far today, and I'm not going to cover because we only have 5 minutes left, is any late breaking sports news. So, all right, everybody. I hope you enjoyed the show, even the banter back and forth amongst Ross and I. I still love him to death, but we don't agree on everything. Wendell says if they cancel all sports, you would be happy. No, you wouldn't, Wendell. There's no life without sports. Sports is life. Lobbying is okay. Try it outside of a government setting and it's bribery. Yes, absolutely, Chris. Absolutely. But all sports teams do it. NFL, MLB, they all do it. Whether it's the local or all the way up to the top, they all do it. So I want to thank everybody at Radio X Australia. I hope you have a great day wherever you are. And I want to thank Ross at Yerg's Radio, and hopefully he'll allow me back on tomorrow, and Rainbow Radio. And of course, we wouldn't be anywhere if we didn't mention thank you to Pine Islands radio station. We go out there every night, midnight. And I believe tonight's episode is yesterday's. I believe they're one day behind us. I'm not sure. I have to go back and listen again, or I could have gotten behind, but I want to thank them. And if you have any questions, you can send them to me via email at sportcat@protonmail.com. This is all going to be in the description of the show. And I need everybody to please come over and find us on YouTube and help us spread the word by liking, following, and sharing the Paranormal Guys with a Z on YouTube. Let's see. I have some TikToks out. You can find that under Sportcat Medic on TikTok. Wendell says to tell Ross hello. I'm sure I've got a stream of messages from Ross. Let's see. What else do I have? I think that's all my thanks for the day. I appreciate more than anything. I appreciate my audience. I appreciate all my regulars, Wendell, Denise, Chris, Ross, Brenda, all of you. I appreciate you for helping spread the news and spread the love about us. We're a small show with a big mission. So, and I've already got a spammer sending me email about the show for today. Good news. So we must be doing something right. All right, everybody, have a great day. And as I say,
in case I don't see you, good afternoon, good evening, and good night.
That's right. In case I don't see you, good afternoon, good evening, and good night to wherever you are in whatever part of the world you're in. Have a safe night. I will be back tomorrow at 1:00, and we will have more fun spreading the word about the Daily Gazette. Everybody have fun. I'll see you soon. Bye now.
We have a 138 at